Hello again. I'm Dr. Deb of Dr. Deb Explains, Learning Strategies Department Chair and Learning Frameworks Instructor. You're watching the 8th video in a series on transition issues that new college students often face. In today's video, I'm addressing the elephant in the room. What and how are you actually supposed to study? We've been talking about the importance of studying and learning all semester, but just like everything else in education, we rarely take the time to show you how to do it. That may be resolved in today's video as we discuss the study cycle and 2 different study systems. To help you with your studying, I also have 3 learning theories: metacognition, goal setting, and cognitive load, the learning strategy of retrieval practice, and the principle of reflecting on feedback you receive about your performance. VC's Total Learning Center presents Dr. Deb Explains Transition Issue Number 8, Study Time. All semester, we've talked about the importance of attending class, working and reading outside of class, acquiring knowledge, learning both the technology and the material, meeting your responsibilities, getting good grades, and learning again, and how much you work. How on earth are you supposed to fit this in with your already busy schedule? The answer is to utilize effective study sessions with spaced practice that we discussed in transition issue number 7. The best way to study is to use a study cycle. This involves what you do before class, during class, after class, your study session, and after your study session. It has 5 key steps, which include previewing the material before you actually go to class. This step is key because, as we've said before, it helps build your background knowledge and helps your retention as it gives your brain something to think about and connect with. Then, attend class. Actively listen and take notes on the material. After class, review your notes as soon as possible. This step helps refresh your memory of the content and provides the information for your brain again. Then, complete an intense study session or a games session. In the intense study session, you want to set a goal for your learning. For example, I want to fully understand and be able to list the 3 major causes of the Great Depression at the end of my study session. Then, you actively learn the material. Don't just read over your notes. Your brain needs to be actively engaged in and thinking about the material. You need to connect with the information, ask questions, elaborate. This session should only be about 20 to 30 minutes in length. Then, take a break. Reward yourself, but not too long. Take the dog out, put in a load of laundry, get a snack, something that only takes 5 or 10 minutes. Then, review the material. Check your goal. Do you fully understand and are able to list the causes of the Great Depression? In the games method, you start with the same basic strategy of setting goals. Maybe you want to be able to complete 5 of your algebra problems without looking at the example. Then again, actively learn the material or do the necessary work. Make your practice meaningful and memorable. Connect, question, elaborate, use dual coding, create concrete examples, then explain the material to yourself, your dog, the wall, elaborate, and list everything that you know about the topic or the issue. Then, just like reviewing, in the intense study session, self-monitor and see what you really know. After performing either of these study sessions, finish the study cycle with assessment. What did you learn? What can you do now? What do you still need to learn or remember? Do you need another study session on this same material? Or can you move on to another subject? If you can utilize these methods and the study cycle, your learning and performance will greatly improve. But in order to do it efficiently and effectively, let's look at some of the strategies and theories that can also help. First, let's talk about metacognition. We've already talked about it a lot this semester, and hopefully you've already been doing it without realizing what it was called. All of the self-monitoring, the planning, the thinking about, the reviewing, basically everything you've been doing as a self-regulated learner is metacognition. It is essentially thinking about your thinking and learning. It usually involves things like, how am I learning? Am I learning? How can I improve my learning? As we found with the information processing theory, you simply can't read your notes or the textbook and learn it or have it stay in your memory. You have to think about the subject, but then you also have to think about what you're thinking about. Is it the right strategy? Could you do it better? Why is this important while studying? You have to plan, assess, and monitor your learning, or your studying isn't working. And if it isn't working, you need to know why and how to change it. That's hopefully where all of these strategies and theories come into play. We are giving you the tools that you need, but it's up to you to think about what you know and don't know, and to decide which theories and strategies that you need in order to improve in each subject or situation. The next theory is part of both study methods. It involves setting goals. You have big goals like graduating, but you also need smaller goals like learning the causes of the Great Depression in order to reach your larger goal of graduation. There are two methods that you could use to learn how to set better goals for learning: the SMART goal method or LOCKS method. But both of these methods boil down to making sure that your goals are specific and measurable. What are you going to do, and how will you know that you've done it? Otherwise, how will you know that you've achieved them? But stating the perfect goal doesn't mean you will achieve it either. You have to know why you want it. Is it to look good, or to maintain an image, like a performance goal? Or is it to actually learn the material, like a learning goal? And even then, you could still fail to meet your goal if it's not something that you actually value. Why do you want to accomplish this goal? And more importantly, do you believe that you can accomplish it? Without these things, your goals are unlikely to be achieved. Why is this important while studying? As both methods point out, setting a goal for your study session is the first step. You have to know what you are trying to accomplish, why you want to accomplish it, if it's important to you, and if you actually believe that you can do it. Otherwise, you're simply going through the motions and have no real idea if you've learned anything or not. Cognitive load is the amount of information that your brain can process at one time. Our brains can learn a lot, but we cannot take in an infinite amount of information at one time and remember it all. In actuality, our brains can only process approximately 7 plus or minus 2 items at a time. That means that when we are studying, we need to limit the information we are trying to learn to 5 to 9 unique items or chunks of information. For example, our phone numbers consist of 10 digits, which is more than the 7 plus or minus 2 that our brains can handle. So we have created a system to chunk the numbers together into the 3-digit area code, 1, 2, 3, the 3-digit middle numbers, 4, 5, 6, and the 4-digit ending numbers, 7, 8, 9, 0. This means that we can more easily remember 3 chunks of information than we can the 10 individual numbers. Here's another example. How many of you zone out during lectures, while studying, or while reading? You are listening, reading, or working. Your brain takes in so much information, and it can only process so much before it shuts down, in a sense, or becomes overloaded. This may occur about 20 to 30 minutes into a session. You are listening, and then all of a sudden, you are spacing out and thinking about lunch, dinner, the new movie you want to see. This is entirely normal, and it's a result of cognitive load. So how can knowing this help you study? First, you should study in short sessions. Remember spaced practice? This is the reason the study methods are so short. Secondly, you should try to keep your brain actively involved. Interest in a topic or subject can improve the length of time that your brain wants to focus on something. Make connections. Ask questions in your head. Do anything that can keep your brain actively involved in what it's supposed to be doing instead of wandering into inconsequential topics. And finally, you need to take breaks. Your brain needs time to process all that you've put into it. And after the break, you will probably remember more of the information than you expected to. Retrieval practice works well with the issue of study time because if you remember the information processing theory from Chapter 5, you recall that you have to rehearse and retrieve information in order for it to go to your long-term memory. Retrieval practice is the technique that you use to make that happen. As you practice retrieving the information, you are rehearsing and learning what is missing. There are two ways to go about using retrieval practice. You can simply try to recognize the bits that go together, like memorizing words and definitions for a multiple choice or matching exam, or you can try to actively recall as much as you know about the topic, like teaching the material to someone, the dog, the wall, etc. The key here is to do it correctly. You have to actually recall the information and not just read it off of a card the way some students do when they use flashcards. So how does this help? Retrieval practice is one way to get your brain actively involved in your study sessions. As you read, study, learn, stop and see if you can recall what you were doing and learning without looking. If you can, great, you're right on track. If you can't, don't worry. Simply rehearse it and try it again another time. Cusio's fourth principle for student success focuses on self-reflection, and today's topic involves focusing on feedback. Reflecting means to think about or review something. So reflecting on feedback means to think about or review what your instructors say about your work. Remember how we talked about exam debriefs? Those are actually one type of reflecting on feedback. You can also do this with your graded assignments or papers. When using this principle, don't just look at your grade and be happy or upset with it. Instead, look at what your instructor has said about your work and where you lost points. Reflect on why you did well with certain sections and didn't do well with others. Then, think about what you can do next time to improve on your paper assignment. All of this reflecting is actually a form of metacognition because you were thinking about your thinking and your learning. How does reflecting on feedback help you study? You need to know how you have done on assignments in order to improve and learn better. What was wrong and why was it wrong? How can you improve it for next time? What part of your process didn't work? When we stop to think about it, learning is simply one large problem to solve. What works and what doesn't, so we can fix it and do it again. This wraps up transition issue number 8, study time. In this video, I demonstrated how the study cycle works and 2 methods to use with the study cycle. The 3 learning theories, metacognition, goal setting, and cognitive load, are directly related to studying, and the learning strategy of retrieval practice is a powerful studying strategy, especially combined with space practice. Finally, I review the self-reflecting principle of reflecting on your feedback as a powerful studying tool to improve learning. If you are interested in more transition issues that new college students often face, tune in for more as Dr. Deb explains.